Under the stormy Lagos night, the young billionaire Daniel forced open the door to his niece's room, and that single forbidden act unleashed a curse that no amount of money could ever wash away. Welcome to Talesbysteph, a home of interesting African stories. In the busy city of Lagos lived a young billionaire named Daniel. He was known for his flashy cars, grand mansion, and love of luxury. Daniel enjoyed every pleasure money could buy. He especially had a weakness for women with big butts. He even joked that a curvy backside was an abundance blessing. Despite his extravagant life, Daniel had a family he cared about. When his elder brother passed away suddenly, Daniel's heart broke. His brother left behind a grieving wife and an 18-year-old daughter named Sonia. Sonia was a quiet, beautiful girl with a very big butt, just the kind Daniel always noticed. At the funeral, Daniel saw Sonia and her mother crying. He felt sorry for them and remembered his duty as an uncle. With a kind smile, he promised to take care of Sonia and her mother. He would pay Sonia's school fees and help them with their bills. Everyone praised Daniel for his generosity. He seemed like a hero stepping up for family. Daniel himself felt proud to support his brother's family. He did not know that this kind promise was the start of a story of temptation and guilt. Would he keep his noble promise, or would his own desires lead him astray? Only time would tell what fate had in store for them. Weeks passed, and true to his word, Daniel provided for Sonia and her mother. He moved them into a comfortable apartment in the city and paid for everything they needed. Sonia often visited Daniel's mansion to thank him. At first, these visits were simple family gatherings. Sonia would come after school, wearing her neat uniform, to report her grades. Daniel would give her advice, buy her gifts, and sometimes take her and her mother out for dinner. Neighbors admired Daniel, saying he treated Sonia like his own daughter. But inside Daniel's mind, a storm was brewing. Each time Sonia visited, Daniel found his eyes drifting to her shape. She was no longer a little girl, but a blossoming young woman. One sunny afternoon, Sonia came over to swim in Daniel's pool with the new swimsuit he bought her. As she laughed and splashed, Daniel's gaze fixed on her abundance blessing, the very curve that he found so attractive. He swallowed hard and quickly looked away, ashamed of his thoughts. He knew it was wrong. "She is my niece, I must not think this way," he told himself. But the more he tried not to look, the more his eyes betrayed him. That evening, Daniel couldn't sleep. He paced his marble floors, battling his conscience. His heart pounded with a forbidden curiosity. Would he control himself and stay a caring uncle, or would this temptation push him toward a terrible mistake? The question hung in the air, unanswered. One fateful night, heavy rain poured over Lagos. Sonia had stayed late at Daniel's house to work on a school project using his computer. The roads were flooding, and Daniel insisted she spend the night in his guest room for safety. Sonia agreed innocently, never imagining danger from her own uncle. But Daniel's self-control had been wearing thin. That night, as thunder rattled the windows, Daniel's wicked desire overpowered him. He approached Sonia's room under the pretense of checking on her. Sonia opened the door slightly, and Daniel saw her in an oversized T-shirt, preparing to sleep. In that moment, Daniel could no longer fight his dark impulse. He pushed into the room. Before Sonia understood what was happening, Daniel forced himself on her. She cried and begged him to stop. "Uncle, please, no!" Sonia screamed, tears mixing with the rain beating on the roof. But Daniel, blinded by lust, ignored her pleas. That night he did the unforgivable. It was a brief and horrible act, and when it was over, both of them were left trembling. Sonia curled up on the bed, sobbing, her world shattered. Daniel backed away in shock at himself. What had he done? He mumbled a sorry, but sorry could not take away Sonia's pain. Daniel fled the room, his hands shaking. He had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. He hoped it was all a bad dream. but it was terribly real. The luxurious mansion was silent except for Sonia's quiet cries and the rain. Daniel sat alone in the dark living room till morning, filled with guilt and fear. He wondered if anyone would find out his evil deed. He hoped Sonia would stay quiet. But little did he know, consequences were already unfolding. Sonia left Daniel's house the next morning before he woke up. She felt scared, hurt, and confused. She did not tell her mother immediately, but the trauma was heavy in her heart. In the weeks that followed, Sonia avoided visiting her uncle. Daniel, pretending nothing happened, kept sending money for their upkeep. He hoped that if they stayed silent, life would go on. However, a bigger surprise was coming. Sonia found out she was pregnant. After missing her monthly cycle and feeling sick in the mornings, Sonia told her mother the truth with tears in her eyes. Her mother was shocked and furious. She never imagined that the man who swore to protect them, her own brother-in-law, could do such a thing. Boiling with anger, Sonia's mother marched to Daniel's mansion with Sonia by her side. Daniel was on his balcony, sipping expensive wine, when he saw them arrive. He forced a smile. "Ah, my family," he called out nervously. But Sonia's mother did not smile. She shouted in the local Yoruba language, "Otise mi lese." "You have wronged me." She confronted him, voice trembling with rage and pain. "Daniel, you got my daughter pregnant. Would you have dared do this if my husband were alive?" she cried. Neighbors began to peek, and Daniel felt embarrassed and attacked. Instead of admitting his sin, Daniel's pride took over. He frowned and snapped, denying responsibility. He accused them of lying just to grab his wealth. In his heart, Daniel knew the truth, but he couldn't face the shame. Sonia's mother cursed him through her tears. "The gods and God in heaven will judge you, Daniel. You used your wealth to destroy us." This only made Daniel angrier. He ordered them off his property. In a fit of prideful rage, Daniel cut off all support to Sonia and her mother from that day. He stopped paying their rent, school fees, everything. Sonia and her mother were shocked at how quickly Daniel's kindness turned to cruelty. Within a short time, they could no longer afford their apartment or even food. Daniel's evil act had broken the bonds of their family. Sonia and her mother packed their few belongings and left, tears in their eyes. As they walked away, Sonia's mother looked back at Daniel's mansion one last time and said, "No evil deed goes unpunished." Daniel shut his door, trying to silence his guilt. He believed his problem was gone. But life was about to get much harder for the two women he abandoned. Without Daniel's help, Sonia and her mother quickly fell into poverty. They had nowhere to go. The city of Lagos, full of wealth for some, was a harsh place for the poor. After being chased out of their apartment for unpaid rent, Sonia and her mother ended up living under a busy bridge at Oshodi, one of the crowded areas of Lagos. Under the bridge, they joined other homeless families, sleeping on mats and cardboard. Every night was noisy with honking Danfo buses above and mosquitoes whining near their ears. Sonia, now visibly pregnant, tried to stay brave. Her mother hugged her every night and whispered, "We will survive this, my child." But life under the bridge was tough. They often went to sleep hungry. In the mornings, Sonia's mother would beg for money or try to sell petty goods on the roadside just to buy bread. Sometimes kind strangers gave them leftovers to eat. Sonia had to drop out of school because of the pregnancy and their situation. She would sit by the roadside watching other girls in uniforms laughing on their way to class, and her heart would hurt. There were moments of small light even in this darkness. A poor elderly woman who also slept under the bridge would tell folktales at night to comfort them. She told Sonia, "No condition is permanent. The river may be dirty here, but it can still lead to clean ocean." These words gave Sonia a little hope. Sonia's mother watched her daughter's belly grow and felt deep pain and regret. She whispered prayers every day, asking God to help her child. Despite everything, Sonia and her mother clung to each other with love, hoping that someday their suffering would end. But more hardship was on the way, testing their strength like never before. In time, Sonia's baby arrived. One cold morning under the gray Lagos sky, Sonia went into labor. It was a difficult birth with no hospital, only a few women under the bridge helping. After hours of pain and effort, Sonia delivered a baby girl. She named her little daughter Hope, for that was the only thing keeping Sonia alive. Holding baby Hope in her arms, Sonia managed a weak smile, but tears rolled down her cheeks. She was happy her baby was safe, but the reality of their life was heartbreaking. Sonia's mother held her new grandchild and forced a hopeful grin. However, the long months of stress and hunger had taken a toll on Sonia's mother. She had become very weak and sickly, though she tried to hide it. Each day after the birth, her health got worse. One evening, as the sun set orange over the Lagos lagoon, Sonia's mother developed a fierce cough and a high fever. Under that noisy bridge with cars roaring above, the mother lay on a thin mat, gasping for air. Sonia, still recovering from childbirth, held her mother's hand tightly. She cried, "Mama, please don't leave me. Who will help me take care of the baby?" The mother used her remaining strength to squeeze Sonia's hand. Her eyes were full of love and sorrow. "My daughter," she whispered between coughs, "I am sorry I cannot stay." "Be strong. Your little girl needs you," Sonia sobbed, helpless. With tears in her eyes, the mother gave her final advice. "Forgive, but do not forget what happened. And remember, the wicked cannot hide from truth. I will watch over you, even from above." With that, Sonia's mother closed her eyes for the last time. She died in her daughter's arms, under the bridge, with baby Hope softly crying beside them. In that moment, it felt like the whole world stopped for Sonia. She wailed a deep cry of pain that echoed into the night. Some passers-by and other homeless folks came to comfort her. They helped bury her mother a few days later in a simple grave. Now Sonia was truly alone, an orphan with a baby, living under a bridge. The tragedy was overwhelming. As Sonia mourned, a strange thing happened far across the city. Daniel woke up from a nightmare, sweating. He thought he heard someone crying his name in the darkness. He did not know why, but that night he felt a chill run down his spine. The weight of his guilt was about to grow even heavier. Daniel continued with his frivolous lifestyle, acting as if nothing was wrong. He went to parties with loud music, drank expensive champagne, and traveled in private jets. To outside eyes, he was still the cheerful rich man with not a worry in the world. But inside his heart, Daniel felt a constant pinch of guilt that he could not shake off. At night, when Daniel tried to sleep in his king-size bed, nightmares troubled him. He dreamed of his late brother looking at him with sad eyes, and of Sonia's mother pointing at him accusingly. Sometimes he dreamed of a baby crying alone in the dark. Each time Daniel woke up with a start, his heart thumping. He would turn on all the lights in his room and wipe the sweat from his brow. No matter how many midnight snacks or glasses of wine he took to calm down, the guilt sat in the room with him like a silent ghost. In the daytime, Daniel tried to forget by drowning himself in pleasures. He bought a new luxury car, he surrounded himself with beautiful women, and he threw money around at clubs. But even in the middle of loud Afrobeat music and dancing, his mind would wander. Once, a young woman at a nightclub had the same hairstyle as Sonia, and Daniel nearly dropped his drink in shock. He kept seeing reminders of his niece everywhere. One afternoon, while being driven through Lagos traffic in his tinted SUV, Daniel stopped at a red light. A tired-looking girl about Sonia's age was selling peanuts in the traffic. She called out, "Uncle, buy ground nuts, please." Hearing "Uncle," Daniel's chest tightened. He bought the peanuts and gave the girl a large amount of money, telling her to keep the change. As the car drove off, Daniel realized his hands were shaking. He could not run away from what he had done. The memory of that rainy night and its consequences followed him like a shadow. Daniel was rich, but he felt no peace. Guilt was like a heavy chain around his neck, constantly reminding him of his sin. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Sonia's hurt face and heard her mother's angry voice. How long could he live like this, pretending? Something had to change. Deep down, Daniel knew what he needed to do. He had to seek forgiveness and try to make things right. But was it too late? He gathered his courage and decided to find Sonia, not yet knowing what he would discover when he did. With a heavy heart, Daniel began searching for Sonia and her mother. He asked a few distant relatives if they knew where the women had gone, but nobody had answers. Finally, he swallowed his pride and went back to the old apartment he had rented for them. The landlord told Daniel how Sonia and her mother were kicked out and ended up on the streets. Shame and fear gripped Daniel. He drove around the city, checking shelters and places where the homeless stay. After some weeks, he heard from a street hawker that a young girl with a baby was living under the Oshodi Bridge after her mother died. Daniel's heart sank. He realized with horror that Sonia's mother might be dead. Determined, Daniel put on a simple shirt and cap to not draw attention, and went to the bridge in the early morning. The air smelled of smoke and garbage. He stepped carefully over sleeping figures until he saw a skinny young woman sitting against a pillar, cradling a baby. It was Sonia. Her face that was once bright and full of youth now looked tired and sad. Daniel's eyes filled with tears at the sight of his niece and his own baby, for he knew the child must be his, living in such misery. His voice trembled as he called softly, "Sonia." She looked up, surprised to see Daniel standing there. At first, anger flashed in her eyes. She held baby Hope tightly, as if protecting her from the man who harmed them. Daniel immediately fell to his knees on the dirty ground. He broke down, crying, "I am sorry, Sonia, I am so sorry." He spoke in a humble tone that Sonia had never heard from him. Tears rolled down Daniel's cheeks as he confessed his wrongs. He admitted he had done a terrible evil to her and caused the death of her mother by his cruelty. Sonia watched him, silent and stunned. This once proud billionaire was on his knees, dust on his expensive trousers, begging for forgiveness amid the trash and dust of the bridge. Other homeless people watched from a distance in amazement. Daniel gently reached out to touch baby Hope's tiny hand. The baby looked at him with innocent eyes and suddenly gave a little smile. Daniel felt his heart ache and heal at the same time at that smile. He promised Sonia that he would take responsibility. "Let me help you, please," he pleaded. "I will make sure you and the baby are safe. I will fly you overseas, anywhere, to start a new life. I know I cannot undo the past, but I want to do right by you now." Sonia's mind swirled. She had dreamed of Daniel apologizing one day, but she also dreamed of him being punished. Here he was, sorry and broken. She thought of her mother's last words about forgiveness. Would accepting Daniel's help be a betrayal of her mother's memory, or would it be the only chance for her baby to have a better life? Sonia's heart pounded as she faced her uncle, the man who was both her tormentor and now her only lifeline. After a long silence, Sonia nodded slowly. Her voice was barely above a whisper as she said, "I will go, but I will never forget what you did, Uncle." Daniel nodded, understanding this was not full forgiveness but a chance to redeem himself. He arranged everything quickly. He got passports, visas, and plane tickets for Sonia and baby Hope to travel abroad. He also prepared to go with them, at least to settle them safely overseas. A week later, at Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, the three of them stood in line for departure. Sonia held baby Hope close, and Daniel carried their bags. It felt surreal to both of them. Other travelers might have thought they were just a normal family. But inside, Sonia was full of mixed emotions: relief to leave the bridge, sadness for her mother, and unresolved anger toward Daniel. Daniel, on the other hand, felt a small bit of hope that maybe he could make amends. Yet he also knew he did not deserve peace. As they walked toward the airplane, Daniel placed a gentle hand on Sonia's shoulder and said, "I will take care of you and the baby." "I owe you that and so much more." Sonia didn't smile or thank him. She just looked ahead, eyes fixed on the cloudy sky. The engines of the plane roared as they prepared to board. Daniel's heart thumped. He was helping them escape poverty. But deep inside, he wondered if he was also trying to escape his guilt. Can a person ever escape such guilt? On the plane, Sonia sat by the window with hope in her arms. Daniel sat next to them. As the plane took off, leaving the ground of Lagos behind, Sonia watched the city get smaller below. Her life was changing again, but the scars in her heart were still there. Daniel managed a small, nervous smile, thinking perhaps a new country would mean a new beginning for all of them. But fate is a tricky thing. Far below, the city of Lagos carried on. In the market, an old storyteller who knew Sonia's mother clicked her tongue and said to a crowd of listeners, "No matter how high a bird flies, the sky is wide enough to see it. The truth will always come out." Back on the airplane, Daniel closed his eyes, silently vowing to be better. However, a question still hung in the air like a storm cloud that refused to disappear. Would Daniel's evil act truly go unpunished? The story does not give an easy answer. The future remained uncertain for Daniel and Sonia as they flew into the unknown, each of them carrying the weight of the past in their hearts. Moral lesson: no evil deed goes unpunished, and the consequences of our actions will always come to light. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment.